Hello and welcome to the Turn 5 podcast. I believe this is episode 17 now,
Yeah.
and we will be reviewing all of this weekend's action from the Great British Grand Prix. One of us was lucky enough to go and sit in a grandstand all weekend. I'm sure we won't hear anything about that.
Try not to flex too hard about it.
No, of course not. But I mean, I think the first point of conversation we need to have is the change of format and how that affected things. Because normally we'd dive into free practice, but to be honest, free practice this weekend was next to non-existent. Like we had the first hour of running, which was basically everyone did a race run and then did a quali sim, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind FP1 so much because obviously with the reduced format, they all went out straight away, you know, did a lot of running. But FP2 was the one, like, well, for a start, having practice after qualifying, but normal qualifying is just weird. And second of all, because they'd already qualified, it was all race runs, and it was just,
they're all under Parc Fermé conditions anyway.
I struggled to stay interested in that. It was and it was all very well. It wouldn't have told us anything anyway because you never know what fuel loads. I mean, I think Red Bull ended up about 2 seconds quicker, didn't they?
Yeah.
But,
that was interesting.
So that's where I stand on the practice. But yeah,
I mean, I didn't even watch FP2 because I was having my hair cut. But it doesn't. I didn't think I'd miss much considering it was under Parc Fermé. So
yeah, it was like kind of pointless in all honesty. Like they had they could have done their practice starts with like the lower amount of fuel because they've never done that before. So like that was the only benefit I could really see.
But yeah,
that bit needs a rethink, I think.
Yeah, but the only thing is, it's like, oh well, if you let them not be in Parc Fermé, it's like, well, then you have to literally detail everything that they've done in qualifying and make sure they put it back to how it was. So it's kind of pointless at that point. So
I do kind of see why they've done it like that. So it gives people a reason to be there on Friday as well.
Yeah,
which makes them more money.
Yeah,
I see why they've done it, but it's quite bad.
We were kind of talking about because obviously, if say they swapped FP2 in qualifying, or it would have made Friday, because there was the atmosphere on Friday at Silverstone because of the qualifying was so good, like much better than it normally would be on a practice day. So, and then if obviously you swap them around, you'd lose that. But
it'd just go back to being what Friday is for every other Grand Prix. It's just a practice day.
Yeah, and I don't really see how else it could be done.
No. I mean, it's not bad. I won't say it was bad. The sprint race certainly provided entertainment. I mean, officially it's not a sprint race, it's sprint qualifying, but it's a race, come on. But I don't think it'll work with every track. And even my dad, who hardly watches much Formula One, was like, this wouldn't work everywhere. And we both instantly went Monaco, because I mean, that'd just be a 17-lap procession, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it is anyway.
So, well, yeah, but like you don't even have the mandatory pit stops to try and spice it up. So
yeah, I've seen a couple of people on Twitter saying how it would be good for, like I said before we started recording, it'd be good to have like sprint qualifying at like classic tracks like Silverstone. I was gonna say Monaco, but I like classic,
Monza.
But obviously that wouldn't work. Monza, like tracks like that, which have been in the calendar for years, like decades essentially, and just to like spice them up a bit. But like not every weekend, because then it'd just be no.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it we've got it 3 times, haven't we? I think that's about right. But I think it was kind of obvious that whoever got to the first corner first was going to win, like Verstappen and Hamilton. And like the way it worked out with the field spread was quite big. Like Mercedes started Bottas on softs, didn't they, to try and get Verstappen, which could have been interesting, but it didn't work out. I mean, and obviously Alonso was the one who made it quite interesting, wasn't he?
it was 6 places in the opening lap, I think it
I
was.
think so.
Yeah.
just strap a rocket ship on, and then
Like
that
the
was
bullet
it.
bill for Mario Kart.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the format has potential, but it will work best on circuits where overtaking is more abundant. Like, well, Monza is like the example, because you slipstream someone down the home straight, dive bomb into turn 1. You see so many overtakes there. But I don't know. I don't feel like it would work somewhere like Canada, or somewhere where overtaking is more difficult, because Silverstone is still quite a difficult place to overtake, and I think we've seen that this weekend. There weren't ridiculous amounts of overtakes in any of the series, really.
I was surprised at that. I was like
Normally-
2019. You think about 2019, like how Verstappen and Leclerc followed each other, for example. It was very difficult to pass this
But
weekend.
even the junior formulas, there's normally a lot more overtakes going on than there were in this weekend. So that was what was a bit strange for me, to be honest.
I guess the one big victim was Perez, wasn't it?
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah,
how
you
he
had
didn't hit the wall, but
miracles. I suppose you've got like the big gainer of Alonso and the big loser of Perez. But at the same time, Perez hasn't lost as much as he would have done had that been the actual race, because he's been able to go and get his car repaired and then had another 52 laps to make up the positions.
yeah. When
One
thing-
thing that
I
didn't
think
work
that-
out for him.
I think the thing that annoyed me the most is it devalued pole position for me. Like, it just didn't
Yeah.
feel right that Hamilton, set that.
We got the Pirelli Speed
yeah.
King.
Yeah, exactly. And it just felt weird Verstappen getting a pole position for winning a race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they need to sort that out.
Yeah.
Pole position is, I know, pole position is who starts the race on pole, but it's always who qualifies fastest. So
Wasn't like Hamilton had like the fastest lap or something, but Max won, so he got pole. It
Yeah,
was something
true.
like that, and it's like that doesn't make sense.
yeah,
It's
it's
also
an
incredibly
interesting one.
annoying that George Russell had his best ever. By the way, I think apart from Hamilton winning the race, George Russell getting into Q3 got the biggest cheer of the weekend, which was
Oh yeah, you could
like
hear
that
that
was brilliant to see.
Yeah, we
on
heard that on the
TV. That
broadcast.
was great.
Obviously, there's Hamilton fever with the British crowd, and there always has been. But it was great to see this year, like Norris and Russell kind of like emerge with the British fans, and that moment where Russell got into Q3 was so good. But it's typical, isn't it? He had his best qualifying, but he's been so bad at starts, and he had to do 3 of them this weekend.
Yeah, not ideal.
And he got a penalty, which I think was very harsh as well.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll come on to it. I think the stewards have sort of, after Austria, they've cornered themselves, really. They've set a precedent, and now everyone's going to judge it back to that if they don't do things. And as right or wrong as that may be, it's harsh. So, but there's always going to be is it a harsh penalty? Is it a soft penalty? Is it whatever? But then everyone will compare it back to, back in like 2017, so-and-so did this and they didn't get a penalty. And it's like, well, apples, grapes, they're both incidents, but they're not the same thing. So, yeah, I think the stewards have one of the hardest jobs, but it would help if they actually did it right.
Yeah.
When we discussed the penalty points last week, didn't we? And
yeah.
it's just wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when Chris comes back, he'll have something to say about it, won't he?
Yeah.
Leave the stewards alone.
we haven't even covered that. Chris is working till 11, so he's not with us this evening. But if we're here for long enough, he might well join.
Yeah.
We will be, given certain
if we cause World War III, then he might turn up.
When we cause.
When, yeah.
It's all right. I'll send the invite link to Jean Todt and he'll come in and smooth things over.
Send an email to Michael Massey.
Just hope there's not a waste on some
Michael,
season.
have you seen my email?
We get Toto's.
Get Toto's email as well, just to laugh.
That was so strange. She's like, "Have you seen my email?" It's like, "Whoa, what is this, dude?" Like, the 90s called. They want their tech back. We don't use emails that much anymore.
How do you come up with a diagram? Like, and no, normally, if I try and attach like a photo to an email, it says, "Oh, it's too big" or something.
He's obviously just done it on MS Paint.
Yeah.
It's just going to be like here's the corner and like 2 lines drawn on.
Yeah. Just a zoomed in picture on Photoshop.
Max's fault. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, just zoomed in picture of Photoshop on that corner, just like loads of different, just a mess.
Yeah.
And just hope you understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I then found it quite funny. It was like, yeah, you know, you can go up to the steward's office because Michael Massey's the race director. He's like, I don't care. Show the stewards. I've got nothing to do with this. I run the race. I don't make the decisions. I just tell them if I want them to have a look at something. They're already looking at it. Go and talk to them.
Yeah, as much as I like roasted Michael Massey last week, he did actually handle that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, I get it. Both teams defending their driver. It's always going to happen that way. But it's just like, why are you talking to Michael? They've already said it's under investigation. It's now in the steward's hands. At that point, Michael has nothing to do with it. Move on. Talk to the stewards if you're going to moan about something.
Yeah, and that's where you could see as well. We spoke about like Christian Horner being the ultimate wind-up merchant. You could see like his gamesmanship in the way he went and spoke to Michael Massey to try and get Hamilton a penalty, which I wasn't a fan of. Like his interview after the race, I was not a fan of. I mean, I normally try and take him with a pinch of salt, but that was not on. Like basically in theory, he did it on purpose. But
I raise you, Helmut Marko.
Yeah, I mean, Helmut Marko's just, who even takes him seriously?
Proposing a race ban. Wow.
In fact, while watching the race, we were just in the live chat in the Discord, just taking the absolute rippings of him.
It was hilarious. It was just weird. The story broke that Marko had like proposed a race ban, and everyone was just like, "What?" Like, as much as everyone disagreed over who was at fault and what kind of penalty was given, as soon as that came up, everyone was like, "Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. Come on now."
He's like an F1 Twitter user, which is absolutely hilarious considering he's about 140 years old.
I don't think he knows what a character limit is.
Yeah.
No,
it's like when someone says like, "Oh, Hamilton should have been black flag straight away." Yeah, just imagine like Verstappen flies off the road instead of safety car deployed, it immediately comes up saying, "Oh, black flag for car number 44." It's like some of the viewpoints you see are just hilariously bad, but
I can just imagine
ours won't be.
I can imagine with some people, the amount of audacity they have on Twitter will probably, if they see Helmut Marko in person, they would just go, "Isn't it time to retire right about now?" Just
he's
please.
like, I did retire. This is my retirement job.
Oh. Is it time to retire that retirement? Please do the sport some good.
Yeah.
And Christian Horner said Hamilton was an 8-time world champion as well. Which,
I
mean, does he know something we don't?
Yeah, he's already give up after.
He was fuming, which was it was quite funny, but it was also like I didn't like. I mean, we kind of jumped to after the race, but
oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's covering the incident, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's only one talking point, isn't there?
I mean, yeah, it was the lap 1 incident, and that was. I don't want to say that was it for the race because there was other things that happened. There were other things that happened, but
nothing that big.
Nothing as contentious.
Yeah, I was trying to think that's probably like the most dramatic moment in F1 since, I don't know, like Rosberg and Hamilton took each other out. Oh yeah, like
okay, involving two drivers.
Spain 2016
going for a championship. Yeah.
Which that was
so. It's I mean, there's a lot of ways you can. I suppose there's a lot of people that gave their 2 cents on it. All of the experts and yada yada, and most of the experts, TV pundits, ex-drivers and that were saying, it's probably a racing incident, marginally more towards the side of Lewis's fault, which, that's sensible. It is in essence a racing incident, but at the same time, did he really need to try it there? Like we've said in the past about drivers that need to have the right sort of patience to get past a driver. Like everyone complained about Albon making his move around outside of turn 4 at Austria and getting punterinoed. Like he had the pace, he had the fresh tires, he could have done it whenever. But it's.
I think with Lewis, there was also like that. Obviously, he didn't have to, but there's like in his head, he wanted to win Silverstone. Of course, he does. He's a British driver.
Yeah.
But like, I think there was that pressure in his head, like I want to win this. So he was like had not a lot of patience, even though it was the first.
I mean,
lap.
in fairness, he had been over the back of him for the entire lap up to that point.
Yeah. But like,
and it had been a very tall order to get him at any point after that.
Yeah,
I think
the race.
I think the sprint race didn't help Lewis. The fact that Max got ahead and then he was just behind the whole time.
Lewis's start in that was abysmal.
Lewis going into the actual race would have been like, if I get a chance, I've just got to go full send.
I mean, the way I see it is like everyone's gonna have their opinions. Like, was he alongside?
I mean, you see it on the side, but he was alongside, and then Max keeps the sweeping angle because he's got the higher momentum from the outside line.
Yeah, not when he wasn't when the contact was made, obviously, because he hit his rear tire.
Yeah,
but
the
way I see it is
going into the braking zone or the lifting zone, you kind of have to brake a little bit when you're going side by side. On your own, it is a flat corner, but when you have the compromised line, you gotta come off a bit.
The way I see it is it's two like great drivers, fighting everything they've got for a win. Both probably could have done more to avoid it. I agree. If you absolutely had to put the blame on someone, it would be Martin Hamilton.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, it was more of a racing incident. And I feel like, I know the stewards aren't supposed to give penalties based on outcome, but in my opinion, the penalty was given because Verstappen retired and Hamilton carried on in second. That's how I saw it. Like,
according to Michael Massey, an article
they
came out today.
They always say that, don't they? But
yeah.
They say they don't give penalties on lap 1, and they gave one to George.
I mean, they also say that things aren't as a result of the outcome, but like Gasly forced Norris wide at France, but they didn't give Gasly a penalty because Norris got past eventually anyway. But Norris slightly forces Sergio off the track, and Sergio loses 6 positions because he's in the gravel trap, and Norris gets a 5-second penalty. Yeah. So, is it really because of not due to outcome? Because I'm finding that hard to believe.
Yeah, from the thing is, from Lewis's point of view, he's always like been cautious, hasn't he, in a title battle, because his experience. He knows if he loses the position, he can probably get it back later. And I think Max is obviously the complete opposite of that, isn't he?
I feel like this year is the year he doesn't think he can get that position back.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, I think you look at Imola, the start, and also especially Spain, where Hamilton literally jumped out of the way. I think Max has played on Lewis's cautiousness, and he thinks maybe he can bully him. And I think he found out. I think he thought he could chop across him, and Hamilton would back out.
I mean, we've seen Max's onboards that when he turns in initially and then sees Lewis alongside and opens his steering wheel out to try and give him more room before then having to commit to the corner. So I don't know. It's one of those things. It's if either driver had been 4 inches either way, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I
mean, so it's a very marginal spot. But
yeah, well, I mean, the Leclerc, the pass to the lead at the end showed he can do it. Albeit
just Leclerc goes wide.
But I mean, if you're going to be really harsh on Max, you could say if he'd had Hamilton's kind of championship mindset, he could have really backed out of it, let Hamilton go, and he's at worst he's got the whole race ahead
7
of him.
points.
Yeah, he's got the whole race ahead of him. He's in second in what's been the best car. So a few races now.
with the best pit crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
to be fair, he could have had the best car then. We
Yeah.
just don't know.
And
Certainly
that's
did
where
over the sprint race.
that's where you can bring it back to the one with Ocon in Brazil in 2018, where it was like obviously that was more clear cut Ocon's fault because he was a lap down, and this one's more debatable. But you could argue, yes, Max was, according to the stewards, the victim, but did he really need to put his car where he did and risk, obviously in that case, being spinning out? In the case of yesterday, being in the wall at 100 and whatever it was, 70 miles an hour. That's harsh. That's a harsh opinion on Max.
I've got an image here. I want to see if it'll load. So here we have Bottas and Hamilton. This is Bottas's viewpoint of his overtake on the inside of Copse. I believe it's got to be 2019 because it's still the silver arrow. But you can see from these onboards the car's position. Now I know Max came over and squeezed Lewis, and Lewis was inside, but then Max came back to the racing line, and Lewis did follow him mostly. So I think these sorts of positions are reasonably comparable in that respect. But what I'm looking at is Bottas's line through Copse. You can see he has absolutely smashed this apex and nailed it. Hamilton has not made that, which I feel is what contributed to the accident. I believe that it's no clear cut, it's just because he missed the apex sort of thing. I put my 2 cents on Twitter. I tweeted quite a lot during the race, to be honest. But now I said that I feel like, it's the first lap. Your tires aren't up to temperature or pressure yet, so you're not going to be running at maximum grip because you've only done half a lap and you've been sat on the grid for like 20 seconds. So you're not quite at full pressure temperature yet. You're on the dirty side of the track. And we've already spoken about the reduced running this weekend. So it's been rubbered in less, and we've had, normally we have, we have F2 and F3 under normal circumstances, don't we? So that's a lot of running from them, but we just had F2 and W series. So there's less running from support races as well. So you have less grip because it's less rubbered in. And at a corner of that speed, I don't feel like either of them sort of backed out enough to take the line that would have been necessary to go too wide round that corner. And because Lewis hasn't, as the driver on the outside, you expect the driver on the inside at that sort of speed to be hitting the apex, because that's what you'd do if you were on your own. You'd hit the apex, take the best line. So why wouldn't you do that when you're alongside someone? So I feel like that sort of played into it. So I feel like the lower grip, the speed of the incident, and the fact that Lewis is somewhat understeered out from the apex is what resulted into the crash.
Yeah, I mean, that comparison, I think what mainly caused the crash was, well, Verstappen moved over so much, didn't he, towards the pit, the old pit wall, which meant Hamilton had such a tight line to Copse, which therefore made him miss the apex. But that's where you say he should have backed out. But then again, with that comparison, you could then go back to the point I was making earlier about Hamilton in 2019 played the long game because he let Bottas go, knowing that he'd probably beat him in the race, which he did. And yeah, got the points for it. So
that's what Norris was doing later on.
Yeah, he was getting for his championship challenge when Hamilton and Verstappen collide at the next 5 races.
I mean, that was sort of the joke that went on in the Discord of when Norris basically just let him pass. It was just kind of like, he doesn't want to be the next Verstappen. So
yeah, I mean, thing is with the crash, you could see it coming, and obviously it was probably always going to happen at some point this season if they were going to continue to be wheel to wheel so much. But you could see it coming, and to be honest, I really thought we were going to get a repeat with Leclerc and Hamilton. I really.
I mean,
felt-
that's the thing though. You run that risk when you have a championship battle that's actually close. You don't really see it in years that we don't have a close championship battle. We don't have a rivalry. If last year it was just Mercedes at the front, and everyone just turned their focus onto who's going to finish P3 in the constructors, and it was that. So I don't know. I feel like 2017, when the Ferraris got off to a good start, was probably, it took until, was it 2017? Germany? No, it was 2018, wasn't it? Yeah. And it took until Germany before Lewis actually got back in front in the constructors and the drivers. Like, we haven't had a fierce competition at the front since then. Yes, other teams have, taken race wins and this, that, and the other, but it's not been a consistent challenge. Because no disrespect to Valtteri, but he's not.
He is
and
the
he's
number
not
2
a
driver.
Challenger.
He is the number 2 driver.
Yeah, he's not a challenger. He is a consolidation. When Lewis doesn't finish first, Valtteri's there to try and finish first. And until recently, I would have said he probably would have done. But nowadays, I'm thinking, even if Lewis isn't there, he's probably finishing third.
Yeah, he was off Leclerc's pace, wasn't he?
Yeah, which is ludicrous to think. How we've all said the Ferrari's bad, and yet Bottas cannot maintain pace with him.
I mean, if you think about it, Bottas really should have won that race, like the way it played out.
Yeah, he really
I know
should
the
have.
Ferrari was quick in the end, but I mean, to think he was right behind Hamilton for the restart, and obviously Hamilton had a 10-second penalty.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did lose out to Norris, didn't he? Which cost him, but even then.
Yeah, it cost him until the pit stop, and then the McLaren pit stop was slow.
Yeah.
So that was pain. There was a lot of slow pit stops though. So,
or Carlos.
Oh my god, yeah, Carlos serving a 10-second penalty to sympathise with Lewis.
Yeah. That showed how tough it was to pass as well, because he literally closed up to Ricciardo. Well, he'd have been ahead, wouldn't he, if it wasn't for the pit stop?
Yeah.
But he closed up to him so quickly and just could never pass, which was a bit of a
Can we
shame.
go into the team by team analysis then before we go off a tangent and miss anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we should cover the social media point before we go into the full team analysis. The aftermath of the incident is, well, abhorrent, I think, is the only sort of word that we can use to describe it.
The way the Red Bull personnel, by Red Bull personnel, I mean Christian Horner and Max and Helmut Marko, the way they handled it could have been a lot better. Like, I understand Max's point of view because, like, he was the one who crashed. So, like, I understand why he is really, really angry. But again, like, tone it down a bit for social media. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko, what is going on? Just
there's a line between being a wind-up merchant and being an arse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say they both crossed over that line. I mean, Helmut was already over it, let's be honest.
No, yeah.
Nobody took him seriously anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I feel, yes, heat of the moment, everyone is going to be more passionate about the things, but you're talking to a base of millions of people, and that is not something that you can just rashly throw out words at. So more consideration needs to be taken before people start releasing statements and throwing accusations about and calling people 8th-time world drivers champions.
One thing I remember Max said was the way the celebrations were handled after the race had finished. Like, yes, he crashed out. It's very good that he's okay. But at the same time, that was lap 1. We knew he was going to be somewhat okay because he went to the hospital. But Lewis had just finished the race. from an incident happened at lap 1, he had 50 other laps to just concentrate on the race and not think about Max. So people saying he should have thought about Max in the podium was like, he just finished 50 laps where this is going to sound bad, but he didn't have to think about Max because he had like everything else to focus on. So I understand why he forgot. But
it's the two sides of the thing is, yes, he's won his home Grand Prix. Celebrate, sure.
And he's equaled the record.
Yes, but at the same time, and he hadn't been told at that point that Max had actually been taken to the hospital.
He'd found out in the media
He
pen
did
afterwards.
ask if he was okay, didn't he? And Bono said he was out of the car fine, didn't he?
Yeah, he asked if he was okay and was told he was out the car, but he wasn't told he's gone to the hospital.
Yeah, he didn't know, did he?
No. But at the same time, even in the interviews I've seen afterwards, he just completely neglected to accept any form of blame whatsoever and completely pinned it on Max. And you're literally arguing with the stewards at that point, which is pointless, because we know how inconsistent the stewards are. You're literally, I mean, they say that you should never argue with a stupid person because the stupid person doesn't know that they're wrong. So I feel like it's kind of that sort of thing. Like, if the stewards make a decision, smile and wave, say sorry, move on. It was the complete lack of, because any other instance he's had, he's, you know, like when he Punterino'd Albon off, he said sorry. Like other instance, he's actually, you know, he's gone and apologized. He said sorry to the driver. He said sorry publicly, yada yada. This one, it's just like, it's Max's fault. He was being too aggressive, blah blah blah.
Yeah, this hasn't been a great aftermath for Lewis because he's basically come out looking like an arsehole for the things he just said. Whereas before, like you said, he would be the bigger person, apologize, like tell everyone, like, don't send hate to him, don't send hate to Albon, like just that example. But now he's coming out looking like an arse because he's not apologizing, not taking the blame, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was arguing with the stewards in private. So,
I mean,
at the same time,
say
one thing publicly, do another thing privately, you know.
I think the thing is, well, first of all, I think this shows it's very personal now between Hamilton and Verstappen, the whole aftermath. But I think one thing Hamilton is very good at compared to, say, his McLaren days is dealing with adversity and just getting on with it. You know, I don't think he agreed with the penalty, but he accepted it and it dropped it to fourth and he came back through. And the thing is, obviously you've got to understand Max has had a 51G impact and he's going to be angry. And his championship rivals won the race who collided with him. You know, he's not going to be happy. But I mean, the tweet wasn't on for me. Like, in my opinion,
I see where he's coming from, and to be honest, his tweet was a lot more toned down than some of the other tweets that were out there.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just Twitter, but in my opinion, that's one of Hamilton's best ever drives. The way he came through from the penalty and chased down Leclerc at the end. At his home crowd, you know, where we've got a full crowd back, having had a year and a half of no fans at most sporting events. And it was just, it was such a good moment. And to expect him to not celebrate when...
Yeah, it's just...
I mean...
Yeah,
but
he hadn't been told at that point, so...
As far as Lewis knew, Max was okay. Obviously, we all know he is now. But he was just told, he's okay, he's out of the car. In that moment, that's all he needed to know, in reality.
Because you don't want to distract your driver by saying, actually, that guy you hit on lap one, he's in the hospital now. What good's that going to do your guy?
I mean, I think the one most important thing is, obviously, there's going to be split opinions. You know, Verstappen's got his views, Christian Horner's got his views, Hamilton, Toto Wolff got their views. And they're always going to disagree, and very much so in this case. I think it's going to carry on. But segueing on to our next point, it doesn't excuse what we saw.
No.
And it doesn't excuse
what we see
fans' response.
Which is the racism.
The racism. That definitely doesn't excuse it.
But the thing is, for me, with the racist comments, was, I mean, it's been such a big issue, isn't it? Ever since, you know, taking the knee with footballers and all that.
Gesture
And
politics.
I hope it puts it to bed, by the way, the debate now
Yeah.
about is it right to take the knee or whatever. But for the one thing for me that stood out was, as soon as that crash happened, my first thought in my head was Hamilton's going to get racist comments on his Instagram. That was the first, and it was the same with the penalty shootout for England. Obviously unrelated, but it was the same thing with when, you know, because it was Rashford, Sancho and Saka, 3 black players. I instantly thought they're going to get racist comments, and that says a lot, really, doesn't it? I mean,
I think even the thing is, though, with the football, I think even if we'd won, but one of them had missed their penalty, they'd have still got it.
Possibly, yeah. Well, I mean, with the football, it was English fans, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With the incident, it was, I mean, it was from abroad mainly, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mainly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, you look at social media companies, Twitter and Instagram, if you tweet like a clip of a race, you get your account banned, don't you?
Yeah.
Instagram knows when someone's put a post out that's related to COVID and puts like a thing on it, doesn't it?
They do it on Facebook as well.
If someone puts a monkey emoji, then that's fine, apparently. It doesn't get taken down, even when it gets reported. And even when it does get reported and the account gets banned, they'll just create another one.
Yeah. And even if they bother to go to the lengths of typing out a full racial slur, it takes so long for that to get deleted.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I've seen in Lewis's latest post, I think, or some of his latest posts, they're just filled with just racist comments, like I said, monkey emojis, slurs. Like, it's not on, really not on.
I mean,
the thing that annoys me is, how difficult is it just to get rid of the monkey emoji? I know it won't do like anything massive, but it's a step forward.
Or just to put a filter on it, I flag every tweet that comes through with just that and go, why is this person just tweeting monkey emojis?
Yeah,
I mean,
come on, there are algorithms for this.
I think I'm not too sure, but I know in some social medias, I think Instagram's one of them, you can just ban certain phrases, words, emojis.
But that's the thing, it doesn't stop them from posting it, it just stops it from showing up on yours.
Especially when you get hundreds of thousands of comments.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the thing is for me, like I was saying, they're just going to create another account and do it again, aren't they? And I mean, obviously we're never going to like cure racism, and it's never going to go away. But we see like all the teams putting out statements, which is good, obviously. And I think there has been, you know, in sport, obviously sports done a lot. We talk about Rashford in the football and Hamilton, arguably the two biggest, you know, anti-racism voices, and for other causes as well.
Yeah.
For that to happen to them, I mean, if you think of the Euros, it was such a good, I mean, you probably won't agree, but such a good tournament. It was such an enjoyable tournament, and it's now marred by
it had such a feel-good factor until the final. And likewise,
yesterday was
even until the final.
Yesterday was such a good day.
Yeah.
No,
until you logged into Twitter and saw the amount of abuse he was getting.
And he'd have woken up this morning to find out he's racially abused. I mean, I obviously, like I said, I'm no expert on how social media companies work, but statements aren't enough.
I'm not being funny, but I'm pretty sure TikTok's For You page algorithm is more complex than the algorithm we need to block an emoji.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, statements aren't enough. And you hear like,
oh, yes, we're working really hard to remove No, you're not.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that gets talked about a lot is like needing ID, which is, I don't know how it would work, but yeah, it's just such a shame. Like
I would
Marcus Rashford and Lewis Hamilton, and
I would say IP address bans would work, but the amount of people that just use VPNs makes it more difficult. So
with just like same with the ID thing, that it'd be a lot more damaging for people like LGBTQ people who aren't out, or like just people like that, or people who don't have ID. Like that would be a lot more damaging to them.
Trans people that have transitioned but their ID hasn't.
Yeah. People like that, like LGBTQ people who aren't out or can't come out, get a new ID or something. But it would be a lot more damage to them than to just ban words and emojis.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is they all they do is say we're trying to tackle it.
Yeah,
And-
and
that's
then
the thing.
I can
And
go
then
on Twitter and find a tweet
like-
from 6 hours ago.
Yeah, it's like you hear, and even then the problem continues. You go on Twitter and like say a news company tweets about it, like Hamilton's received racist abuse. You see like in the comments, oh, he deserved it because he took out Verstappen and could have killed him or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
that's-
No one deserves racist. No one deserves abuse online. For their well, okay, there are some things I believe people deserve abuse for, but you know that's a different story. But nobody deserves
for racing,
yeah.
like doing their job again.
You're
like,
allowed an opinion.
Yes.
You're allowed to think a person is to blame, a person is at fault. You are not allowed to be derogatory, racist, just outright rude to that person. That is just wrong.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and it happens like in sport. It happens every time like a black player has
Literally
a bad
anything.
game in football or any other sport. It happens in everything. And I mean, you hear like after the final, like the odd story of someone being arrested, but it's not enough, is it?
Yeah.
It goes unpunished.
That's one thing. I've seen the teams and Daniel Ricciardo posting about them, saying like, we condemn this behavior. It's not on. We stand against racism. Like the generic, we don't like racism tweet, but they're not really doing anything about it. Yes, they're supporting Lewis in saying it's bad and it shouldn't happen, but they're not doing anything about it. Like Mercedes kind of are, because like they're helping Lewis with the
with his
Hamilton
foundation,
Commission.
yeah.
With the Hamilton Commission, I think that's what it's called, Hamilton
Oh.
Foundation. And it was Hamilton something. I can't remember the second name.
Yeah, that's what it is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like yeah, they are helping with that, but like we're not seeing much of anything else happening apart from Lewis advocating and some other drivers saying we stand with him.
yeah.
That's
I think
that's all we're seeing.
Was it 4 teams didn't even like they refused to take part in the Hamilton
Yeah.
Commission investigation. And you
Well-
think about like all that Lewis has done. This sport is so behind, isn't it, in terms of
Well-
diversity?
With Ferrari,
Racism,
don't they
I
just
mean, it's-
only hire Italians anyway?
I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, the Ferrari Drivers
think-
Academy is more diverse now. Like
Yeah.
we've got Ilott, we've got Mick, we've got
Yeah,
Mick.
but I mean,
Of
like,
course Mick was
employees.
gonna get in.
Yeah,
Oh god,
employees, not
employees!
drivers.
I think they only employ locally, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it only is.
Like if you live around
Italians.
Maranello, that's it. Congrats,
Yeah.
you've got the job.
But then even then, it goes back to the classic, which is such a crazy point that Hamilton's the only black driver in 70 years of F1, and
It is a
Obviously, all the
rich
talk
white
points.
man sport.
all the
can't-
points about the money you need.
I
and-
can't think of another black driver in any feeder series as well.
Yeah, I think there actually might be like one. I can't remember his name or what team he's like. I think he might be McLaren actually. I've got.
Oh, is it the
I can't
junior
remember his name.
driver who's karting?
Yeah, I can't remember
Yeah,
his name, but
I
McLaren
can't
are
remember.
cool.
He's only
Yeah.
like 13 though. He's got a long way to go before he gets anywhere near F1
Yeah,
yet.
he's still in
Yeah.
karting,
Um,
but yeah, they're the only two I could think
like,
of.
the closest we get to racial diversity is like Roy Nissany and Alex Albon
Guan Yu Zhou.
and Guan Yu Zhou. Yeah, and that's like, yeah, that's great. We need to get more people involved, but at the same time, that's still not everyone. You want to call this a world championship, then come on, let's get someone from South Africa in. Let's get someone from Kenya to come and drive. Like, we need to start
There's
developing.
Naomi Schiff, is that her name? She's a presenter in W Series, but she's also a reserve driver. She's the only other black driver I can think of.
And yet she's
Yeah.
reserve.
She's a reserve driver,
Mm.
but I think she's reserve driver because she's a presenter as well.
Yeah, I mean, you start to see it. There's a little bit more in the paddock now, and I think
Yeah.
that's as a direct result of what Hamilton's done. And you see in the mistake. I can't remember what's the lady's name in the Mercedes team. She's been on the podium.
Oh
a couple
yeah,
of times.
I know. She's like
can't remember
the
her name, but-
fuel engineer or something.
Yeah,
I know who you're on about, yeah. But
yeah,
I can't remember her name.
but there's a long way to go.
Yeah, there's so many names in Formula One. I think you'll never learn everyone's name.
True.
It's
I
hard enough to keep track of who's team principal at the rate Alpine go through theirs.
I think McLaren's social media admin is also a person of colour. I'm not exactly sure what race. I'm not sure what the right word is either, but I know they're a person of colour as well.
But yeah, no,
Should
I
we
think
move on to team by team analysis?
Yeah.
I think we can
Yeah.
nicely
On a
round
happy
off and
note.
say that racism bad, racing good.
Apart from on lap 1.
Should we start at the top?
We've kind of gone over
the very narrow top. I mean, we've touched on one half
Yeah.
of Red Bull.
And we kind of touch on Perez as well because there wasn't really much to say.
I mean, he
Bottas,
ruined his sprint race.
Well, even in the
Bottas and
race,
all
he
that
was
jazz.
like,
Nowhere.
I mean, it was a weird strategy, the 2-stop, but he was like, he couldn't get past Stroll for 9th or whatever it was, and then he made his second pit stop, and he was still behind Latifi or something.
Mercedes
And then-
power.
Yeah, it was like I was like joking with my friends who were there. Like, we were saying, oh, he's going to get like top 5 and get driver of the day for binning it in the sprint race, but he was nowhere near, was he?
No. Charles got driver of the day, didn't he?
Yeah.
Deservedly.
Rightly so.
Him or,
Yeah.
well, I would say Hamilton, but I don't think
I don't know. I feel like
Hamilton never
if-
gets it anyway.
No.
if Carlos hadn't had his bad pit stop, I feel like Carlos probably could have got it as well, because he would have been 10 seconds further up the road. He would have been in front of Ricardo, probably challenging Norris.
Yeah.
So, considering where he started outside the top 10, that's a good drive. So, but yeah, so that's, I mean, we've done Red Bull. Max crashed 51G, ouch.
Yeah.
Also, where he crashed, that was like, what, 6 foot beyond the end of the Tech Pro. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Tech Pro extended for next year.
Yeah, it was
So,
an awful crash. Like,
I mean, he's gone straight into
I mean, he
the
could
tyres.
have rolled easily.
Yeah.
I mean, and we were
He
saying
got
off air
so
about
lucky.
the fans clips from right behind the barrier.
Yeah,
you could
'cause
see
that
some
is-
of them
yeah.
hiding from the stones coming up. I
Yeah,
saw on
and-
Twitter someone said the people in front of them actually got hit by stones. Someone smashed his camera.
Yeah, that was.
Well, at least it was his camera, not his face.
Yeah.
Tell that to Helmut Marko. The reason he's got a glass eye is because he cut a bit of gravel through his helmet visor. So, but that does not excuse his radical opinions. Yeah, so I think the Tech Pro is going to get extended round for next year. Like, we've seen how good the FIA are at making adjustments to circuit safety. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one happens. Plus, it's not that much of a big change, is it? A couple of extra lengths of Tech Pro done.
Yeah.
So
Mercedes, Lewis won, Valtteri on the podium.
I mean, Hamilton's drive. I mean, it's a shame that it's going to go a bit unnoticed because it's so good.
It was a good drive at the end.
It's much like the English performance in the Euros. Like, we got to the final for the first time in 50 odd years, and yet after all the racist comments have come out, we're not even going, we made it to the final. It's just, yeah.
Forza
That would have been
Italia.
pain if we had to hear the Italian anthem, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, like, so Lewis couldn't pass Leclerc on mediums at the start, could he? And
The Ferrari's pace on the mediums was ridiculous.
if you think about where he came out, how hard it was to pass, you know, it looked like Leclerc had it in the bag. I was even thinking he probably wouldn't pass Norris because it was
it was like 8 and a bit seconds clear with 11 laps to go.
I mean, it was ridiculous how quick he caught. I mean, if you think about, so Bottas, he was on near enough the same age of tyre life, wasn't he? And he was like nearly a second a lap quicker, which is ridiculous. And he was on not much older tyres than Leclerc, but I mean, it looked like Ferrari had it in the bag because we knew with Hamilton's penalty they could just stay out until Bottas was somewhere near his pit window. But then for Hamilton to close that gap like he did on older tyres, obviously, you know, the quicker car, albeit the Ferrari is very quick still, but it reminded me of, you know, the famous Mansell Piquet one at Silverstone.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that a bit. Like the way he was just constantly chasing him down.
Hounding him, yeah.
And again, Leclerc led 50 laps, Hamilton led 2, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Hamilton's like led hardly any laps all season.
He's not led as, it was like when, I think it was after 4 rounds, it was like, oh yeah, Max has led almost twice as many laps as Lewis, but Lewis has won 3 out of 4 races. Because at the end of the day, like, it's not the mid-race standings that matter. It's who crosses the line first. So you can lead as many laps as you like, but if your engine blows up, well, that's a shame, isn't it?
Charles has also led more laps than Sergio and Bottas together, I think.
Yeah, I heard that actually. He
Bottas hasn't led any, has he?
I think he led Portugal even on pole, wasn't he? And he led for a bit, but
Yeah.
apart from that, yeah.
And Perez led
Sergio's
for
only led like 2, which was the sprint
two.
race at Baku.
Yeah.
And he stayed out in Portugal, didn't he? Because Mazepin held him
Oh
up.
yeah, blue flags.
Yeah.
No, you're racing him, Lewis. That was quite
McLaren.
funny.
Yeah, it was.
Oh god, we're gonna have to like whiz through the teams, aren't we?
Yeah, McLaren.
McLaren, Lando
best.
third in the drivers.
Better than Mercedes and a Red Bull.
And he broke
That is
history as
insane.
well,
Mhm.
becoming like the 15th race.
Oh,
Yeah,
15
Most
point
consecutive
streak.
Yeah.
point scoring finish. So,
Yeah.
I'd have loved to see him on the podium at Silverstone because
Yeah,
again, it would have gone absolutely
British,
wild, even more so than. But yeah, it's still can't
Imagine
complain.
the
Ricardo,
scenes. Imagine the
a
scenes
fourth,
if-
fifth.
Yeah. Imagine the scenes if Hamilton won without the crash. Lando got like second or third, and then George got in the points.
that's what I was praying for. to
I
be
was.
honest.
I think a lot of people were hoping for that. Just
Yeah,
yeah.
like I said earlier, like the crowd when Russell got into Q3 was insane. It was so good. But
It was at that point that I kind of thought it could happen.
I really did think
It's coming home.
It did come home. F1 came home.
Yeah.
Football.
But
yeah,
no, a fourth, fifth for McLaren is solid.
Daniel's
considering-
best for McLaren. Which is good. I think,
He looked a lot better this weekend
yeah,
as well.
I think he said he got a home simulator as well, so I'm guessing that's really helped.
Yes.
So I'm hoping this is Daniel's coming up now.
Turning point, yeah. Ferrari. So close. Obviously the Control-Alt-Delete didn't quite come fast enough for Charles. Because he kept coming over the radio saying that his engine was cutting out. So that was a bit gutting. That was in the first. It was still on the mediums at that point, wasn't it? And Hamilton got within DRS range.
Yeah,
And,
that was before he pitted because it was not long. I think I was sat in the van waiting for my parents to hurry up after I left work because I was just watching on Sky Go. I was like, hurry up.
but no, I don't know. I feel like if they'd managed to resolve the issue earlier, maybe he could have made it to the end in front of Lewis. Because like they were like, oh yeah, it's all sorted now. 5 laps later, it cut again. So I don't know, but
It's all sorted now, but not for long.
yeah. And then Carlos had the slow pit stop. That was the worrying thing though, wasn't it? Because they pitted Charles pretty much straight away after they pitted Carlos, and it was kind of like, oh god, is the same thing going to happen again? I thought it had.
from the grandstand, sometimes it's a bit hard to follow like what's going on, and I thought it was Leclerc.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no. When it came up, I noticed it was because the timing screen had already come up for the pit stop, so I knew it was Carlos. And then I looked back down to I'd got a message or something, so I was replying to that, and I looked back up, and I hadn't clocked that it said replay, and there was just another Ferrari in the pits, and I was just like, Charles, no. But thankfully it was just a replay, and Charles's pit stop went pretty slick. But I think that's a case of what could have been for Ferrari there. But I mean, that's not taking away from what they did. A second and a sixth is good for them. I mean, it's good for anyone really.
both of them be on the podium now, and that's 9 drivers I think on the podium this season.
Yeah, which is
Already.
good.
Yeah.
Which is
For the
good.
sport. Yeah.
AlphaTauri.
Pierre didn't get points, but Yuki did.
Yuki snuck a point. Yeah,
Yeah, Yuki got
Gasly,
P10.
Pierre finished
Gasly
11th.
got-
He was running 9th and he had a puncture right near the end, which was I didn't actually again like it's kind of hard to figure that out from the grandstand sometimes. But,
Yeah, that was gutting.
and he passed Russell for 11th right at the end, which was
But
I
that
didn't
went down well.
again I didn't realize how Russell was like actually on the fringes of the points, but
Yeah, I didn't even notice until Gasly overtook him. I thought he was 11th then.
I didn't even notice until now.
yeah. It was, I don't think I've ever left Silverstone knowing like who finished like at the bottom of the top 10.
Gasly dropped down to 14th on lap 47, and then made up those 3 spaces. So he was the last car that didn't get lapped, actually. So by overtaking Russell, he did not get lapped.
Yeah, he was passing him right in front of where Hamilton was like finishing the race, wasn't he? Yeah.
So
Aston Martin, Lance P8, Seb retired.
yeah,
Went
I
so
mean,
well.
oh god,
Why did Seb retire? Was it just the car just not working anymore?
It was just one of them where he was at the back and never going to score points. And so I think
Yeah,
they
it's because he dropped it behind Alonso.
yeah, he was doing so well, but it was the old Seb, wasn't it?
I'm not gonna lie, I instantly typed in the Discord Spinala. So yeah, sorry, not sorry, mate. Yeah, you drop it like that, you're gonna get the old Spinalas. So yeah, not a great weekend.
Stroll did well, but it went about unnoticed, really.
Yeah. Didn't he make up like 6 positions in the thing?
Yeah, he made up a lot. It was Aston Martin and Alpine starts, which is ridiculous, and Alfa Romeo's as well. But
Yeah, 6 places. So that was like pretty solid for him, but went unnoticed.
I think a lot did in this race, to be honest.
Yeah. Alpine, Fernando 7th, Esteban 9th.
Fernando, official sprint qualifying master.
Yeah.
The old Alonso's back. I can say it now.
That first lap was outrageous.
I had no idea he was up to 5th until they said it on the tannoy, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I didn't realise until after the race when they were like analysing afterwards.
Because I was just kind of, I do what I do when the race starts, because I'm like, yes, the front is interesting, but if no one's obviously going to overtake, I start looking further back into the midfield and what's going on, and you see Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, Mercedes, Alonso. What?
Yeah, sometimes I like watch what's happening on the screen, then I just glance over at the timing things, and it's like, hang on, Alonso, what are you doing there? Like sometimes I get the occasional like, hang on, you're not meant to be there. That's too high up. What are you doing?
So yeah, but that was still a good drive from him.
Alfa Romeo.
Ocon finished 9th as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So another couple of points.
Pretty good. Yeah. Alfa Romeo. Antonio 13th. Kimi 15th. Kimi had the spin.
Every single start, they were very good, which they always are. But then
Giovinazzi always is.
Yeah,
Kimi was like 8th, wasn't he, at one point in the race?
Probably.
And then he just dropped back, and that spin was just stupid.
Yeah, right at the start.
Again, that was so obviously going to happen.
Yeah.
That was where I was sat, and it was like everyone could see Raikkonen or Perez was going to spin around.
I think 13th for Antonio is pretty solid, considering it's like kind of high up in F1.75. It's like quite high up in that. So like that's pretty solid for Antonio. Obviously points would be better, like Monaco, but what can you do?
I mean,
we all have to be George Russell at some point.
Yeah, I mean, Alfa Romeo are one of those teams that it's just you will sneak a point at an occasional race, and this was just a race where not enough people DNF'd for them. So, yeah. Williams, George on the slow down.
Yeah,
it was going 12. So well on Friday.
Yeah, George 12.
I think without that penalty, he'd have been in that. It was that Alonso Stroll Ocon fight. He might have been in that, and then maybe beaten Tsunoda for the last point or something.
If the sprint race hadn't have happened, I think he would have done a lot better.
Yeah, it was just his starts every time. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And
still,
14th, not too bad for him.
I mean, yeah, I feel like he's gained places. He really should have been 16th. He's gained places because Raikkonen spun and then Perez has pitted.
And 2 people DNF'd.
Yeah, so.
It's pretty decent for him.
And then Haas.
Nikita finished ahead of Schumacher.
This is
the apocalypse has come.
This is what I was going to say. So no, I don't think anyone knows this hardly, but where I was sat at Vale, Mazepin actually made an unbelievable overtake on Schumacher. It was so good. Like he went round so he tried to pass him into Stowe, but couldn't quite do it. Then went properly round the outside of him into Vale, and then took the inside for the last corner. And they never showed it. I think someone actually tweeted it.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter.
It was actually a really good move.
I didn't realise he finished in front until now.
I remember when Mazepin spun in qualifying, by the way, the whole crowd just went, way.
I was like,
everyone was just like in disbelief when he made that overtake.
Yeah, like in Baku when the guy spun and the people on the balcony were saying, Mazepin, way.
Okay, so the drivers' standings after round 9?
Yes.
10, I think.
10.
I think 10.
I don't know.
Could be wrong. Probably wrong.
I've got to count this now. I'm lost now. Races.
Yep, 10.
Oh, okay, round 10. The driver's standing after 10 rounds of action are as follows. In 20th and last place on 0 points, Nikita Mazepin. 19th,
Surprise.
Nicholas Latifi on 0 points. 18th, Mick Schumacher, 0 points. 17th, George Russell, 0 points. 16th, Antonio Giovinazzi, 1 point. 15th, Kimi Räikkönen, 1 point. 14th, Yuki Tsunoda, 10 points. 13th, Esteban Ocon, 14 points. 12th, Lance Stroll, 18 points. 11th, Fernando Alonso, 26 points. 10th, Sebastian Vettel, 30 points. 9th, Pierre Gasly, 39 points. 8th, Daniel Ricciardo, 50 points. 7, Carlos Sainz. Oh, why couldn't you get fastest lap this time, man? 68 points. 6th, Charles Leclerc, 80 points. 5th, Sergio Perez, 104 points. 4th, Valtteri Bottas, 108 points. 3rd, Lando Norris, 113 points. 2nd, Lewis Hamilton, 177. And 1st, Max Verstappen, 185 points.
And the Constructors' standings. 10th, Haas, 0. 9th, Williams, 0. Both surprise. 8th, Alfa Romeo with 2 points. 7th, Alpine, 40 points. 6th, Aston Martin, 48 points. 5th, AlphaTauri, 49 points. 4th, Ferrari with 148 points. 3rd, McLaren with 163 points. 2nd, Mercedes with 285 points. And 1st is Red Bull Racing at 280.
Well, I think that leads us on to how our predictions did, to be honest. As you can imagine, with one of the front runners being taken out on lap 1, most of our predictions went somewhat out the window straight away.
Lewis.
Yeah, much obliged, Lewis. With that said, Alex and Chris both won this week with 7 points apiece, and me and Sonia came last on 2 points each. Joy. And I'll put the table in the screen, but I don't think there's too much change from last week. With social media, Lily, who hasn't changed her prediction once since she put her first one in, has again somehow won with 6 points, just because she got Hamilton first and Bottas third. Our bold predictions. So Alex said that you said teammates would crash and one would DNF. Well, their teammates crashed in the Haas duo, but they both finished still. So close.
I said as part of Mazepin Bingo, he'd DNF on the first lap as well. So, I mean, and obviously it wasn't the actual race, but so close.
Close, but no cigar.
To an unbelievable call, but as usual, got it wrong.
Ben said it was going to be a snooze fest. No. I think it was pretty much anything but, to be honest. Chris said Hamilton, Norris, and Russell would all score points. Keep dreaming. Nia, you said George into Q3. Yes, but you also said and points. So no. And I said that Danny Ricciardo would finish exactly 1 place lower than Lando Norris, and he did. So I got it right. And yep, as Alex alluded to earlier, we played Mazepin Bingo, and surprise, surprise, you lost that one. He did not DNF on that one. And I actually, how many laps down did he finish? It was 2, wasn't
27. Oh, wait. The
Well,
laps down.
27 laps
it?
down.
27 laps down.
In my-
and now
in my-
52
in my
lap race.
head-
That's outrageous.
In my head, I thought you were going to say laps. I was like, 27.
No, I took note of that and I put
Yeah,
it
I
in the
know.
Discord as well.
That's why I said 27. But then I was like, oh, wait, no, you said, well, how many laps down? Oh, I messed up.
Oh, it
I
was
would actually pay
only one
attention
lap.
to Mazepin bingo as well. It's like every lap you could see like him getting Leclerc getting slightly closer to him, which is
It's because at that point Mick was behind him, so I saw that Mick had been lapped. I was like, "Oh, it's time," because Mick got brought in for his pit stop earlier.
yeah.
So it's like,
it
okay,
often
any
happens
second
like that,
now.
doesn't it? It happens in the pit stop a lot. But
So he was one lap down. So Ben technically got 2 points out
I
of
see
3.
Ben recline in pain.
Yeah, 3 laps off. So I'm pretty sure I said lap 24.
Yeah, you got 2 out of 3 right. And Chris got 2 out of 3 right as well, because he said lap 27, but he said 2 laps down. So yeah, it's a tie, I believe we'll call that. So and then that
Chris
means-
in air, so
yeah,
I
it's
win.
a tie. Ben has won that one. Sorry, Chris.
It'll go to steward documents next week.
Don't
He
finish
just
work at
makes
11.
one for you specifically.
Don't tempt him. He probably would.
He probably would.
How did we do it? Oh my god, how did you get? You got 279 points this week, Nia. What? Wow, okay. Yeah, so Nia won fantasy this week with an obscene score.
Do you want me to share screen?
Yeah, I'll do share screen. Right, so this is the weekly results. Nia first, 279. My first team in second. Nia's second team in third. Alex in joint third. Oh, blimey.
that's got to be my best of the season, by
Probably. Ben in fifth. My third team in sixth. Chris in seventh, and my second team in eighth with 156 points.
I think Holy Mac and Cheese Balls won because Hamilton's in it.
How has Perez still got 44 points this week?
Wait.
Oh, and Perez is in it as well, yeah.
How does that?
I mean, he's my turbo driver, so he got 22
Because he
points
gained
still.
4 positions. Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
He qualified fifth, so he got sixth. He beat his teammate in the race. Wow, low
Wow.
blow,
Oh my god,
He's
that's
Oh.
unbelievable.
Oh, Max
low
is gonna love
blow
that.
fantasy. Race did finish. Wow. Race fastest lap. Okay, fine. Positions gained because he binned it earlier. Q3 finish, sprint finish. Jesus.
How did he only lose 5 positions in the sprint? What? I don't understand. He lost
Hang on.
15.
Good question. I don't know. Yeah.
Wait, I'll see where you qualified.
Oh no, it's because it's a maximum. Once you hit the maximum, you
Oh.
can't lose any more
Brilliant.
points than that. So,
But yeah, you get like a minus $1 million if you DNF reliability. Okay.
or
Or you get
crashed into. Race did not finish. Minus
Yeah,
15 points.
exactly.
Cry everything. At least he still scored points.
Hmm.
God. Yeah. That
Vettel.
was...
-1.
Oof. That's not ideal. Who was my lowest? Mick Schumacher scored as many as Pierre Gasly. 8 points. Nice. Oh well.
Anyway,
Because of the events happening in the F1 this week and it taking somewhat longer than an average episode to cover them, we're going to cover the support races in the Hungary preview episode. So it will turn into a Formula 2 and W Series review / Hungary preview.
and a
So,
roasting of the stewards.
yes.
Chris
So,
will definitely have something to say
again.
on that.
For the
Tune
third week in a row.
Tune in
Yeah.
next week to hear Chris try and defend some stewards.
Next thing you know, he just becomes a steward himself and just like,
Yeah.
I'm
What else
so
is going
glad
on?
we've got a whole episode for that. I'm so looking forward to next week.
yeah.
What else we got going on?
E-Prix
got
this
my-
weekend. London
I've-
E-Prix this weekend.
Oh yeah, London E-Prix this weekend, and I'm doing my F1 Turbo Attax pack opening live stream on Friday.
Yeah.
So I'll leave my Twitch link in the description. Feel free to come and tune in if you want to see some F1 Turbo Attax cards, because it seems to be a pretty niche market on YouTube at the minute. So I thought, why not? Plus, some of the cards look really cool.
How many packs do you have?
30 individual packs, 5 multi-packs, and a mini tin and a deck box and a launch bundle. So yeah, tune in again, same time next week to hear us rip into some stewards, as well as covering the Silverstone support races, and get in touch with your Hungary predictions. We want to know who is going to dump it on pole and who's going to finish on the podium. So until next time, thank you for listening / watching, and goodbye.